Hi, welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Experience. Uh, so, been in the house, supposed to go do laundry, and I was talking to the TI from California, and she was like, just relax. What you got to do laundry today for? Just take the time and relax. I said, you know what? You're right. So I just chilled in the house today. Apparently, everybody was out of the house today also, so there's nobody here but me. So it was relatively quiet in the house, but of course, still being targeted, still being surveilled in the home. New York Predator Department engaging in home surveillance, remote home monitoring. So the use of sirens in a very subtle form. And here they use the sirens again when I say the use of sirens. Okay? Again, this is what they do. They try to silence me. Also, certain things are being said. Like I was watching a video and it says, we got to push back. And they start using their sirens. So anything that has to do with me pushing back against what it is that they're doing, exposing what it is that they're doing. Then on top of that, maybe I'll show you guys here, but again, sending their Facebook trolls on my page to send subliminal message and stuff like that. And as soon as I was saying to myself, you know what, yeah, I got to expose that, they started using the sirens, okay? So like I said, anytime they feel they have the upper hand, they will introduce and they will show me exactly who is a perp, particularly on Facebook, and how they infiltrate the conscious community, the black community, the conscious community, using the Sambos and the Sambinas, to engage in these sort of subliminal threats. Okay, and I'll show you guys also. Okay. So I wanted to do this video to include this part which talks about the believer's mindset and how those in the position of authority, how they understand the psychology of believers. And there's a reason why they want us to be believers and to continue to be believers. All right? Because not only can they manipulate us using technology, classified technology that's based on the microwave and radio wave frequency to manipulate our minds, but also to engage in covert microchipping, illegal microchipping, and trying to cover it up, or trying to creating an agenda in which they can get the public to go along with accepting the fact that certain people within the society to be microchipped, not realizing that eventually everyone within the society is going to be microchipped, whether you like it or not. You may be already be microchipped and don't even know it. Okay. All right. And then I talk about the labs, the medical labs, the testing labs, the drug testing lab, how they're heavily infiltrated. All right, to give false results and false information in terms of medical tests, drug tests, and so forth. It is well documented. Okay, I'm not going to get into all that in this video, but understand it is well from the DNA labs to the whole thing. Everything it is. These people have orchestrated the perfect crime in what it is that they're doing. And I talk about Dr. Robert Duncan book, Project Soulcatcher. And he's talking about they've created the perfect crime that they continue to manipulate, kill, murder, incarcerate people based on a profiteering system, okay? An exploitation system, right? An oppressive system that most people cannot recognize, particularly black people Negro peers cannot recognize the oppression that they're under. But let's talk about the believer's mindset. So those in an authoritative position exploit a believer's mindset by systematically stripping away an individual's personal responsibility and critical thinking, replacing them with absolute loyalty to a perceived higher cause or leader. This transformation, often called the agentic shift, allows individuals to commit crimes against civilians because they no longer see themselves as responsible for their actions. Psychological mechanism of control. The agentic state, authoritative figure, move followers from an autonomous state where they take personal responsibility to an agentic state. As I said, personal responsibility in your presence department using their sirens. When are they going to take personal responsibility for what they've done to us? I want you to understand that. So whenever I say certain things and they use their sirens, I always ask the question because I see what they do. And the proof is in the pudding. Okay? They don't take responsibility for nothing. Understand that. Okay? So as a TI, understand what it is that they do. Right? They're never going to accept any responsibility to take any responsibility for what they've done to us. But understand wanting us to take personal responsibility for what they have done to us. And this is going to, it's all in this. Just pay attention, okay? Watch what they do, not what they say. Right? From an autonomous state where they take personal responsibility to an agentic state where they view themselves merely as agents of the leader's will. This shift effectively blurs the brain processing of guilt, allowing individuals to carry out harmful orders without the typical moral strain. Bind and focus. Leaders provide psychological bind and focus, such as shifting blame to the victim. See, just talk about that. Shifting blame to the victim or downplaying consequences that help followers minimize moral anxiety, right? Absolution of personal conscience. Authorities convince followers that their actions are sanctioned by a higher power or legal necessity. So, sanctioned by the state in terms of the covert harassment, the covert psychological manipulation, the covert drugging, the honey trapping, the weaponization of many different things. Also, breaking and entering, stealing your things, damaging your property, because those in position of authority tell them that their actions are sanctioned by the state, okay, or by God, whichever one. All right. Legal necessity, making the leader the ultimate moral guide. Manipulation tactics, dehumanizing and scapegoating. Leaders often identify and outgroup civilians, ethnic minorities, or political opponents and blame them for society's problem. By dehumanizing these targets, they make it easier for followers to justify violence. Moral justification, crimes are reframed as virtuous acts. For example, leaders may twist religious doctrine to support that violence against civilians is a divine mission. Fear and urgency. Demagogues excite passion and evoke fear to prevent followers from engaging in reasoned deliberation. They may create high pressure scenarios where critical thinking is bypassed in favor of immediate action. Structural and environmental exploitation. Isolation and information control. Authoritarian leaders often isolate followers from outside sources of information and support systems, such as family and friends, to consolidate control. Manipulation of legitimacy. Authorities cultivate a deep belief in their own legitimacy. When followers believe a leader power is rightfully held, they feed a sense of duty to obey even illegal and immoral commands. Group identification. Leaders foster a strong sense of group identity that demands total conformity. Challenging the leader becomes synonymous with betraying the group or God. So again, those in position of authority understand the mindset of believers and they can manipulate them. See, believers don't even understand their own mindset. That's the danger. All right? That's the danger. And because they're believers, they always use the authority of God and the authority of the state. Those are the two entities that they will use to manipulate believers into committing some of the most atrocious crime. So when I talk about cults and cult-like mindset, you need to understand the leaders because the leader's mindset will eventually trickle down within the group. Okay? Now, let me play this video because I want you guys to understand what is going on. Before I play the video, I want you guys to go and read this article. It's called Milgram and Obedience. Right? Milgram's situational variables. All right. Speedy office, proximity of victims. Brickman, written by Rebecca Sylvia. Milgrams and obedience. Okay. Explanation for obedience. The agentic state and legitimacy of authority. And I'm not going to read all this, but I want you guys to go and look at it. Go and read it. Right? Particularly if you're believers. It's very, very important. All right, so here's an excerpt from a video from Politics with Cher Jacobus, and she's talking to Dr. Godfrey Grammer. All right, and a lot of psychiatrists are now beginning to realize what is going on. How there are other psychiatrists who are operating using dark psychology to manipulate people. Okay, this is very important. We need to understand what is, particularly when we as TS have been talking about this for decades. Okay,
Place with to reenact with the murder of Charlie Kirk, which should not have happened and is absolutely wrong. Um, no matter what he said, because that's how I believe, is that we shouldn't kill each other. But I really think it is part of that same idea of getting people so identified with that movement, that political movement, that for them it becomes religious in and of itself. That they are over identifying with him as the victim, that further entrenches them into that tribe and makes it more likely that they will fight against anything outside of that tribe with hostile vigor.
So this was intentional.
Oh, yeah.
Like they've got somebody, it's almost like they have a psychiatrist who's gone bad behind them, planning some of these things. This MAGA stuff just seems too, I mean, someone's not just thinking of this on the fly. This psychological manipulation to make to actually implant sickness, a mental illness in people, because that's what this looks like and feels like. The whole Charlie Kirk thing and other stuff. It's just it just feels like it's too planned, like it's been planned for a while. That it's beyond Project 2025. That there's something bigger and more evil behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Putin, but
no, it's not Putin.
No, I think that's exactly it, and that's why I do what I do on my YouTube channel and on my social media accounts, because
All right, so you guys, when I say it's not Putin, you hear them just no, it's not Putin. They want to sell us the idea of it being Putin or Russia or China, but no, it's here in the United States. It's the wealthy, the oligarchs, right? And they're creating a society in which, like I said, people giving people in society what is called psychosis, right? Which is basically creating a society of mentally ill people, in that you can control and you can manipulate them in however way you want, right? And the fact that you have other people with mental illness who are trying to give other people their mental illness, right? It's always a recipe for disaster. And we have not learned anything from history, and that's why the bad part of history will always repeats itself. And those in position of authority and power knows this, so they keep us ignorant, they keep us dumbed down, right? They have to create the boogeyman within the society to distract people within the society from what's really going on. And once you get the majority of people to engage in crimes against other human beings, then that is when you will see they move on society and certain groups within people within the society to eradicate them. Right? This mindset is nothing new. But the fact that you have the most vulnerable group participating in targeting other groups of people, right? I'll show videos where you see they use Hasidic Jews, who their ancestors were part of an extermination campaign by the Nazis. Now they're engaging in an extermination campaign against the Palestinians, and soon they will engage in an extermination campaign against black people, particularly in the continent of Africa and here in the United States. They've already said that young black males here in the West, and particularly in America, are the greatest threat to Israel. They've said this out of their own mouth. They've also said that they are creating a new world in which black people will not be a part of it. But we refuse to listen, right? Because we are so conditioned with this religious bullshit that we're ignoring all of the things that they're saying, right? For our delusional belief system. That somehow Jesus is going to come and save us. Like, for real? You gotta send so many Christs for you guys to wake up, and you guys have stoned them. You guys have turned against them. You guys did not want to listen to them, right? Because they didn't come in the name of your Jehovah or your Jesus, right? But the people who will tell you about God and Jesus is the ones plotting your downfall. Understand what it is that they're doing.
in my opinion, right, there are
Listen
multiple
to this.
people like me informing MAGA and Donald Trump and the Heritage Foundation and the Koch brothers and Peter Thiel and all of them on how to manipulate the American public. It is
Okay, so again, this is what they've been doing, and we as TIs have been talking about this stuff for decades. I remember over a decade ago, decade and a half ago, speaking in front of the bioethics committee about the coercive persuasion program, and that I knew was taking place. I knew that I was brainwashed. I was conditioned. I was also microchipped. I wasn't too sure about the microchip back then, right? It didn't take me until another couple of years of me observing, going outside, experimenting on certain things and what it is that they were doing, and how they would monitor my thoughts, how they would try to manipulate me, how they would manipulate me into certain things, doing nudging, how they would direct my path in terms of where it is that I would go, and so forth. Then I realized that I was microchip. And so when I talk about it, I say if you listen to the subtleness of them using sirens, particularly in the middle of the night. If you live in a community where somebody may be targeted, you will hear them. You will hear the sirens more times more than anything else, right? Even in the middle of the night, you will hear them engage in such destructive behavior. And noise is a weapon. As soon as I started recording my video, my grandnephew started acting up, causing a distraction. This is what they do. I see you hear all that banging and stuff like that. That's because they're manipulating his mind. This is microwave radio wave frequency being used to manipulate our minds. Okay? So anyhow, as I was saying, right, we have to truly look at these things and know that this is not God. This is not some act of nature. This is white supremacists who intend on recolonizing the world and manipulating the world, particularly see what's happening in Africa. All right, they lie, they manipulate, they deceive, and yet people fall for it. Well, here you have a psychiatrist who's telling you that there are people, other psychiatrists, who are advising other people how to manipulate us. Right? You look at what happened during the attack on the Capitol, where you have a military psyop specialist who manipulated over 100 people to go to the Capitol to attack, politicians. Again, but they don't talk about these things, right? Because it is their job to manipulate us and to keep us distracted, and we keep falling for it. We as TIs are the distraction. We are the experimentee, and now they want to get rid of us because more and more people are beginning to realize what's going on. Now, I want you to hear the loud talking now, because this is what they do, and I've shown you this in many videos. It will be very quiet, and as soon as I start to do a video, they will get up and they will start walking around making noise and all this stuff. This happens all the time, okay? And I'll continue to record it, and you guys just listen, and you will see and hear the pattern, and you would know, because they can't hear me. Okay, I'm not talking loud enough that they can hear me. But they know why, because the sirens. Okay, there's always that sirens. All right, and at times it's very subtle, but when they hear that siren, they get activated, just like Pam. She'll be nice, and when she start hearing that siren, all of a sudden, she start acting and being mean, because that's how they control them, using sound, using microwave radio wave frequency to manipulate our minds, getting them to engage in crimes, and then now they can't say anything about it. And because I am not letting up in terms of I'm going to always fight back, I'm going to always push back, they don't want to be held responsible or accountable for what it is they do. So they start using children. They start making accusations. They start using women. They start making accusations. Right? Or these so-called psychological threats or psychological accusations. And I know exactly what it is that they're doing. This is why I continue to push back and fight back, and I will always do that. All right, talk to you guys until until I expose their asses in a way that they will never going to recover from. Okay, talk to you guys in the next video. Oh, I hear the new approach to the problem using this sirens. As soon as I looked at my pointed finger, but it is what it is. That's the remote no monitoring. All right, the hijacking, the hacking of my consciousness, hacking of my conscious mind. All right. So I'll talk to you guys next video.